The department determines whether or not the candidate has passed the examination. In cases where an appearance for the final public oral examination would constitute a substantial financial hardship for the candidate, the Director of Graduate Studies may recommend to the Dean of the Graduate School that the examination be waived. There is an intrinsic bond between scientific advancement and skepticism. The scientific worldview has freed us from prejudice, ignorance, and the ironclad rule of authority. Scientists have earned the trust of the public opinion in matters of truth, learning, and understanding. Experimental results are the final judges in the court of science.
It is a common conception that British people traditionally do not express emotions or talk about how they feel openly. However, it has been found that, as is the case in most cultures, it is a question of individuals. Some people are naturally at ease discussing their feelings, and others prefer to keep their personal life private.
Roman writers and orators began to expand their imaginative and intellectual horizons and refine the Latin language through the study of Greek literature. Early Roman literature had two kinds: the recording and examination of public life and behavior through life stories of famous men, and the particularly Roman art of satirical comedy and drama. The purpose of economic development in any region is to provide opportunities for improved living and jobs to people. While industrial development invariably creates more jobs in any region, possibilities of adverse effects on the environment also increase. However, it is imperative to ensure that industrial units cause the least pollution. Adequate and efficient pollution control measures are required so that adverse effects on the environment are minimized.
A theory is an idea about how something in nature works that has gone through rigorous testing through observations and experiments designed to prove the idea right or wrong. When it comes to the evolution of life, various philosophers and scientists proposed different aspects of what later would become evolutionary theory. Tariffs are used to restrict imports by increasing the price of goods and services purchased from another country, making them less attractive to domestic consumers. Governments may impose tariffs to raise revenue or to protect domestic industries, especially from foreign competition. By making foreign-produced goods more expensive, tariffs can make domestically produced alternatives seem more attractive.
Technological development is bringing production and manufacturing closer to the final destination of goods. The most obvious example is energy. We have new technologies for extracting oil. We are making progress in renewable energy to tackle climate change. As technology improves in these areas, the dependence of US and European energy consumers on third-party countries decreases.
The Silk Road is neither an actual road nor a single route. The term instead refers to a network of routes used by traders for more than 1500 years. It describes the well-traveled pathway between Europe and Asia. The term serves as a metaphor for the exchange of goods and ideas between diverse cultures.
A person is born with a variety of genes. In some people, an unusual genetic pattern or change can lead to a less than optimum level of health. People may inherit genes from their parents that increase their risk for certain health conditions. Environmental factors play a role in health. Sometimes, the environment alone is enough to impact health. Scientists have produced an implantable medical device that mimics the primary function of blood vessels, but goes a number of steps further than its natural counterparts. Not only these electronic blood vessels can be used to facilitate the flow of blood, as demonstrated in rabbits, but could also be configured to assist in drug delivery, wound healing, and even gene therapy.
Recently developed biotechnologies are providing new and exciting possibilities for enhancing both food and energy production. With increased awareness, biotechnology and agricultural practices have evolved together to solve a range of problems and promote agricultural sustainability. Today, farming practices which reduce erosion are being combined with the use of pest-resistant crops to enhance long-term food and biofuel production.
Lakes and ponds are a diverse set of inland freshwater habitats that exist across the globe and provide essential resources and habitats for both terrestrial and aquatic organisms. Although widely distributed and vital for many species, including humans, these habitats account for just over 3% of the Earth's surface. Effective conservation and management of these systems relies on our ability to fulfill the growing human demand for freshwater while maintaining system integrity.
The Civil War strengthened the dominance of newspapers. Reporters were sent to accompany troops, allowing civilians and politicians back home to follow the war. By the time the conflict was over, newspapers had solidified themselves as the primary source of information nationwide. The emergence of radio changed everything. It became a staple item for every household.
There is no single method of learning that guarantees success. How we learn depends on many different factors. And what works best for you will not necessarily be the same approach used by other students even if they study the same course. We are all unique as learners, although some patterns emerge in groups of students.
What makes an idea creative is a mix of ingredients that includes a balance between words that commonly appear together and words that do not. Thus, a creative idea is not simply an idea that includes novel ingredients. It is a combination of words that are novel when appearing together, balanced with combinations of ingredients that are more familiar.
The great advantage of early rising is the head start it gives us in our day's work. The early riser has done a large amount of hard work before other people even get out of bed. In the early morning, the mind is fresh, and there are few sounds or other distractions. In many cases, the early riser also finds time to take some exercise in the fresh morning air.
Investigative journalism has the power to scrutinize powerful individuals, uncover secret scandals, and even force the resignation of a political leader. Unlike breaking news reporters, investigative journalists will usually spend weeks or months following up on leads and interviewing sources to piece together their article. Other times, investigative journalists will invest significant time gaining the trust of their sources, so they feel safe and comfortable going on the record.
Free trade is an economic policy under which the government does not interfere with trade. No tariffs are applied to imports or exports, and people are allowed to trade goods and services as they please. Supply and demand dictate the prices for which goods and services sell, and are the only factors that determine how resources are allocated in society.
All cells share some common characteristics that make them living things. All organisms are composed of cells, the basic fundamental unit of life. They contain DNA as a heritable genetic material, and they can reproduce. They transcribe DNA into RNA and translate RNA into proteins on ribosomes. They can also regulate transport across a cell membrane and require chemical energy for some cellular processes.
A pharmacist's duty is not simply preparing the drugs which are prescribed by a general practitioner or other health professionals. It delivers optimal pharmaceutical care by assessing the suitability of the medication for a particular patient, taking into account their medical history, as well as possible side effects and interactions with other drugs that are being used.
Beavers, the second largest rodents on our planet, are gifted with astounding engineering skills. They are capable of building dams that can last for decades or even more. Plus, unlike most human-made structures that cause deforestation and lead to loss of biodiversity, the construction of beaver dams increases species richness, reduces soil erosion, prevents flooding, and improves water quality. The world's demand for freshwater is currently overtaking its ready supply in many places, and this situation shows no sign of abating. Today, 1 out of 6 people, more than a billion, suffer inadequate access to safe freshwater. By 2025, according to data released by the United Nations, the freshwater resources of more than half the countries across the globe will undergo either stress or outright shortages.
A compulsive behavior is an action that a person feels compelled or driven to do over and over again. While these compulsive actions may appear to be irrational or pointless, and may even result in negative consequences, the individual experiencing the compulsion feels unable to stop himself or herself. When an otherwise harmless behavior becomes so consuming that it negatively impacts oneself or others, it may be a symptom of obsessive-compulsive disorder. The first dimension of a sustainable business is its performance relative to societies and social justice, often referred to as social impact. While there is no easy solution for reducing social costs while improving corporate performance and profitability, social impact should not be overlooked. The social impact of a business is viewed both internally and externally to ensure that the business's operations are socially responsible and ethical.